We're an association that connects peers and people to each other to learn and to develop strategies together. Those things have always been core to who is IACED. The programs, the projects, the funding sources have varied, but those four things give heart to who this organization is.
IACED was launched after a conference that we did, two conferences we did in Indianapolis in the fall of 1986. One was a conference with Lilly Endowment and some other national on the role of faith-based organizations in community development, and it attracted a lot of people at the time, 300. That was a good turnout back in those days. And then we had a national conference where IACED really sort of debuted.
We had to do a lot of communication with organizations that were not necessarily devoted to community-based economic development, but that might have been involved in rural housing or Main Street programs or other community-based activities that didn't necessarily know that there was an opportunity to be convened, to be educated, and to learn from one another. So
when I first connected to IACED, I was the director of a community development corporation, Southeast Neighborhood Development, and so we were members early on, and like I said, it was part of just the sort of early gathering of more of an organized structure around community development in Indiana.
But by the 1980s, there were a couple of factors at play. A lot of community organizing, a lot of advocacy work, the passage of the Community Reinvestment Act provided opportunities for organizations to move from advocacy also to development.
Well, the first years, like I said, we didn't really have money. We had lots of ideas, and we had certainly some committed individuals. We met at the Historic Preservation House, which was at that time known as kind of the wedding cake house because it resembled a wedding cake. We would meet and plan our conferences and try and advance our ideas, and it was kind of like a motley crew. It was a small group of maybe half dozen people from around the state who were very committed to forming an association, and before we received funding, it was really pretty much a fledgling group, and so I think that's quite an accomplishment to secure the funding we did and reach a professional association level as we have.
We have always wanted to be part of organizations that brought people together to accomplish key things that you can't do on your own. One of those being legislative advocacy, but also trying to understand what are the best ways and strategies to accomplish our work through the ideas and conversation you have with others who are in a similar situation.
Well, the struggle along the way from the very beginning was it was kind of a new concept, and people didn't really understand what it was really going to do. It was a struggle to be able to afford that very first staff person. That's always a struggle to build an organization kind of from scratch. Then it was a struggle to get people to understand why it was important to be a member, what it was going to bring to your organization. As money was tight, people like, I don't know if I can afford to do this. So I've just kind of watched the growing pains of it. And so the really greatest thing is to see where it is now.
One of the things we've been able to count on in scaling our impact in support of our members over our 30-year history is the support of some key partner organizations. The Lilly Endowment as a core operating support funder, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for our Chodo Technical Assistance Program and pass-through funding for our member organizations, the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority and its predecessor organizations, and the Federal Home Loan Bank of Indianapolis. Each of those invest on an ongoing and regular basis to support IACED in its mission to build the capacity of organizations that build resilient families and vibrant communities across Indiana.
Their engagement in that grassroots level is very, very important to the mission of our agency. It's difficult for us to, as an agency that's in all 92 counties and working on some very complex issues across our state, to be able to understand and listen and come up with solutions to some of the issues that our communities and our low and moderate income individuals and families face every day. And IACED is a great resource for us to hear those issues, those concerns, and those solutions. And that partnership that we have with IACED is critical to the success not only of our agency, but the success of the not-for-profits that we work with every day.
I really feel like it's been so good to connect with the staff members when they come as professionals, but of course they come also as people and community members and have a strong interest in what's good in your local community. And so it's been really fun to have them want to come and enter in communities that aren't their own, that are outside of Indianapolis also, and to want to know where's the best local, like what's the best local restaurant, what's the best local neighborhood, what's the best of what's going on in this community, so that they can compare that to many of the other communities in Indiana that they've seen, and they can share. If you ask them what's going on in pretty much any small town in Indiana, they know the best thing that's there, and they're able to tell you. And they're like, oh, this is going on in Wabash, and this is going on in Marion, and this is going on in Evansville, and that knowledge is really incredible.
We've seen a lot of direct benefit from being involved with IACED, from taking advantage of course offerings and other services, capacity building offered. A lot of the renewable energy production and development that we're doing right now is a direct result of a course that I took in financing the renewable energy project from IACED. We met a lot of great folks at that training. We learned some new tips, and we thought this is a great opportunity for our neighborhood and our organization, and we really kind of jumped in.
Their services as capacity builders and advocates in the city of Gary have been game changers for us, particularly in the Miller neighborhood. There was already community development work going on in Miller, but now they have allowed and have really supported residents in their efforts to take that work to a different level. So it's been a real game changer in Miller. It is becoming a game changer in the Emerson area, as they have worked to help Emerson residents and businesses pull that neighborhood together. So it's just been a game changer in the city.
I think that the services that IACED has provided to us have made an impact not just on our organization and some of the funding that we might be contributing to projects that have come out of the collective impact model, but they've really made a difference in Lake County themselves. The individuals feel that their voices are being heard, that they are playing a part in how they can transform their communities. And I don't think that would have been possible without IACED and Legacy Foundation working in partnership.
I think I've become accustomed to professional groups often providing workshops or providing trainings that are kind of fluffy, that are a little bit light on knowledge, and I found that to be the opposite with IACED. Their trainings are to the point, are information rich, and often will connect you directly to the exact resources that you need, and that can be like research, but it's often people.
Not a lot of people in Lafayette work in what we do, so it's very important to have access to people statewide that do things, to share ideas, to learn from each other. And IACED not only develops really great training to train us, but also is really good at connecting people together.
As the former executive director, the one thing that I realized right away is so many really great staff people working in communities across the state are often isolated, meaning that they're often the only organization in their small city or rural area that's working on these issues. And so there's not a natural network and peer network that they can access. And IACED provides that infrastructure.
For me and for this organization as an association, we're relationally driven. So it's about the relationships that we build, the networks that we can form or the networks we can engage, and how we mobilize those relationships, those networks, to generate capital and support prosperity in our local communities.
There's this broader agenda that a community needs to adopt in order to really prosper like it could, and that needs to cut across traditional lines of economic development versus community development. And the more we can break that down and to then build very concrete partnerships, the more Indiana will prosper. And I think that that is very much the agenda of IACED, to create a prosperous state that benefits everybody, and that does start to take some of these resources that we've viewed very narrowly and break that into partnerships that actually benefit across the spectrum of people, whether they are low income, or whether those people have color, or whether those are traditional civic leaders, that they all view their future of their community as dependent on working together in a way that is driven by the vision of that particular community. And that is really something that we're all working forward towards, but IACED has the opportunity to really lead that, both at the legislature, but really especially out in communities.
PNC has been a long-term supporter of IACED. We believe in their work. We believe in the value that they add to the industry. We believe in, we need their expertise. We need the data that they generate. We need the research. It helps us better understand what's really happening on the ground, what's happening with families in Indiana, what are the issues that our developers are facing, what are the issues our community organizations, what challenges are out there. We can only be as effective as the knowledge that we have. And we look to IACED to give us that input and insight into community development across the state.
We work across vertical silos to understand the interrelationships and the connections to lead prosperity at the neighborhood and community level. And we work alongside our members to help them see that big picture. What does it take from a technical know-how and from a leadership capacity know-how to move an agenda forward for low wealth, low income consumers, historically disadvantaged communities?
You know, I don't know how to summarize all the impact they've had on public policy. I don't know how to summarize all the people we've trained and how much that's helped the state of Indiana. All those things are great accomplishments. What you can see a little more clearly is the impact we've had in communities around Indiana, where we've done quality of life planning, and to watch those communities come together, how we motivate and mobilize community members to work on their own communities and see the changes that have happened in those communities because of that. That's probably, to me, the most visible accomplishment.
I believe that the work of IACED to build a broader coalition of organizations around the state that are working together for comprehensive community development has allowed LISC to be more successful in Indianapolis with that strategy, because it's advanced an understanding and a support and specific tangible partnerships that are aligned behind that now, and that was not the case in the past. And so that has allowed us to not have to break new ground every time we talk to somebody who, particularly that is involved with state government or larger organizations around the state, to explain this more comprehensive approach to community development.
As an organization, we approach all of our work through the framework of our theory of change, which is rooted in a comprehensive approach to how we build prosperity in Indiana communities. That work starts with healthy, successful people who are thriving in their local places and thriving in a way that is successful for each of them. We believe thriving, successful people have the capacity and the ability to form relationships and networks. Our work is to support members to organize, mobilize those relationships, decide together on the strategies for change in their local community, and then give them the technical know-how and the adaptive tools to deliver on the vision they've set for themselves and produce results. In fact, the work of bringing people together to accomplish something greater than they could achieve by themselves has always been at the core of this organization. We talk about our mission as supporting a network. We are a broker of relationships that move communities forward. And we do this in a way that no other organization in Indiana can, because our membership is diverse and our tent is large. The reason for that is because we see that so much of the work accomplished in local communities is interconnected. And it is those connections that we're able to share with our members that enable us to continue strengthening our communities to keep building prosperity in Indiana together.